Hi guys and welcome back. Today I want to talk about getting lazy with our artwork. It's something that I have definitely done from time to time, and I've been noticing that there's specific details that I have been getting really lazy with. So I just wanted to talk about that, some of the things that can affect it, how to overcome it, how to actually realize that you're doing it. But first, I want to give a really quick announcement. Just a reminder that my Kickstarter is still going. It ends on the 27th of October, and we are super close to unlocking that last final 6th enamel pin. So if you want to check that out, there's a link down in the description that'll take you over there. But yeah, let's just go ahead and jump into talking about laziness with our artwork. And really, I feel like laziness is just like one specific word that you could use for it, but I've also felt the same kind of degradation of quality or the pushing forward of quality as not paying attention, as just feeling tired, as getting demotivated. So there's a lot of different ways that you can talk about this kind of phenomenon, and that's simply where you used to do something that was harder, more complex, more detailed, or you at least pushed yourself to try to do those things, and then over time you drew away from that. That kind of challenge stopped being as prevalent in your work. And I've noticed that with my own works. Very specifically, I've noticed that with the hair that I draw. I was looking at past artwork and seeing that I had spent a lot more time developing different strands of hair that would twist around, and there was just a lot more movement to it and components working within these hair that I was sketching. And I really missed that. It struck me how very basic I was approaching drawing the hair recently. And in fact, probably the last months or more. And yeah, I've been trying to think about what really was the cause of that. When did that start to happen? When did I let myself slip as far as the attention that I was giving it to? And I figured that maybe this is something that others have experienced or struggled with or had to fight through, or maybe you haven't even realized it yet, and you can look at your work and start to pick that apart. So I guess really the key to this is just to figure out if it's happening and where it's happening. Because if you don't know how to fix it, and you can't fix it. You can't fix a problem that you don't know exists. And yeah, I find that looking at my old artwork, analyzing my old processes, that helps me to see what was I doing that was pushing me more in the past. The hair that I draw, that's my one example for today, but there are others too that I've found that I could use some work on. So being able to look back and seeing where I was and looking at where I'm at now and seeing, okay, well, that's something that I used to value. Why don't I put the same level of value into it? And the reasons for letting these things slip can be so extremely varied. It can completely depend on what you are going through. It can be things happening in your own personal life. It can be that you started focusing on really trying to get better at a certain aspect in your artwork, and because of that, other areas start to slip. I've definitely noticed that I have a habit of doing that sometimes too. For me, I think in this specific situation, it was that I was letting the demand and the pressure to get a painting done as quickly as possible. I let that overwhelm the need to spend more time on the sketch, to really develop things out and to make it as good as I could and to enjoy that process of it. And yeah, being able to actually pinpoint that and start breaking it down, that's when you can start working on countering it, on countering whatever that trigger is that ended up leading you down the wrong path. So I don't know exactly how to reverse this effect that I gave myself, where I feel so much pressure to just quickly move forward, but I do know that the giving priority back into working on the sketch for a longer period of time will allow me to have more time to look at the hair, more time to focus on details that I used to spend a lot more time on, and therefore ended up much more detailed in the final product. But I have also found that this realization of laziness within our work, that can come from feeling stagnant or disinterested in what you're working on. I have absolutely experienced this before. So if you're working on something and you've done it the same way for a really long amount of time, and maybe it was more complex, maybe you did really enjoy it at one point, but because it's stayed the same way, it can get really dull and uninspiring. And I've found that can start to ebb away at my excitement to work on it. And I think that this, in a way, is also contributing to my less detailed hair, less details in other areas, where if I was really figuring out, well, what do I actually want to challenge myself with? What's something that would be hard to achieve and hard to figure out, but I could do it if I take some time and I spend several pieces or months and months of working on it, that eventually I can conquer that. I think that those active goals can really help. It can help beat this laziness or disinterest that can start creeping into our work. I also think that this can really be a sign that it's time to just completely rethink a process that you might be working in. If you've been doing it a single way and you're bored of it and it's just not inspiring anymore, maybe it's time to try something completely different. Of course, this really depends on what your own personal art goals are, what your taste in art that you want to create, and the taste of your own artwork. That can all play into this, but I found that there are a lot of things that are out there in the world that other artists are creating and doing, and I am absolutely in love with it. I love how it looks. I love what inspiration it gives me, but I'm not finding a way to bring that into my own work. And because of that, I am still going down that same path, and I'm not infusing new ideas, new approaches. And I've found in the past that sometimes I just need to completely dive into that. I need to separate myself from what I had been doing and try something completely new and just make that all encompassing for a piece that I'm working on. And that can really just invigorate me to start paying more attention to everything that I'm doing. And the thing is that even if I don't end up loving that process, or there's only a little bit of that I enjoy, it allows me to mix it in with the old way of doing it, or find a new way to combine it with the ways that I have used to do it, so that it ends up being a new process, a new thing, a new look, but it's based in things that I find really inspiring and things that I have already mastered, but now it's a step in a different direction. I just think that a lot of this really has to do with paying attention to yourself and your goals and being present with that. At least it is for me. I find that when I don't have active goals that I'm working on and I'm paying attention to every time I do a piece, I tend to slip. I tend to have pieces that I'm unhappy with. And being able to have concrete goals of what I'm actually trying to work on, what do I wish my artwork looked like, what do I wish I was better at, and keeping those in the forefront of my mind when I'm working on creating new artwork has really helped me in the past to be able to feel like I'm not slipping backwards. I'm always gaining something, even if the piece is quote unquote a failure, if it didn't end up perfect or right. If I'm always focusing on those things, then I can always count on getting better at the fact that I'm learning, that I'm trying something, that I'm getting new knowledge, and I sometimes slip on that. I sometimes just go through the motions of creating artwork, and that's really when I think this problem of laziness and negligence comes out in my artwork, is when I'm just cranking pieces out. I'm not envisioning what I wish I could be creating and striving for that. But now I want to switch over and talk a little bit about this painting. So like I've been mentioning from the very beginning, I wanted to make her hair more detailed, more complex in this piece. And I did that. I really enjoyed being able to do hair that felt more in tune with with my identity of an artist, of how I felt like I should be creating hair, if that makes sense. I liked that a lot. I liked being able to have more individual strands that were doing more things. It just created a much more lively and energetic painting. It definitely added a lot more time to the process of this painting, which is no surprise there. Like I mentioned, I think that that's probably why slowly, accidentally, I let myself work on much more simplified hair shapes. And that was something that I had to really get over, I guess. The emotions of feeling like I was taking too long, that I was creating my artwork too slowly, but really I was putting more details into something, so it took more time to get the details right. It took a lot more time to ink it, and by inking I mean I use watercolors to create the line work for her hair. So yeah, in the end it did take a lot longer, but I'm much happier with the result. I feel like it was more of an accomplishment than other pieces that I've done that are similar. So yes, that was good. I enjoyed that. I also really enjoyed the color that it ended up having. I really dived into this piece without having any color comps at all, or really any plans, which is usually a bad idea. It luckily kind of worked out with this one, which is just for the fact that it ended up being a very simplified palette. But yeah, with her hair, I actually started with more of like the mid-tones, I guess, that was a more desaturated variation of greens and blues, a little bit of blue. And then after I let that first layer dry, I went in with a much more saturated glazing of a couple of my green pigments that just look so pretty, and I love it. And I actually really liked how those two components married together, so that there are areas that pop out as a little bit more saturated in her hair, and then others that are more subdued in her shadows. And don't forget to check out my Kickstarter if you're interested in getting yourself some magical enamel pins. I also have this original painting available at my shop. There's a link down below that'll take you there. And this is going to be the artwork for the exclusive Patreon postcard for October. So if you'd like to get the print of this mailed to your door, then the only way to get that is to sign up for the $10 tier or up over on Patreon before the end of this month. And yeah, that is about it for today. As always, I want to give a massive thank you to all of my patrons over on Patreon. You guys are absolutely incredible. I can't thank you enough for the support that you show me over there. But yeah, that's it. So I'll see you guys next time with my next art video.